This is Sounds Like Relict, a collaboration between Sounds Like Adventure and Hounds on Games to celebrate the launch of the Kickstarter for Relict. Hey there, welcome back. It is episode 4 of Sounds Like Relict. It's me, Jack. Hey, how you going? And it's our final episode, and to celebrate once again, I'm joined by Chris. Hey Chris, how are you?
Jack, how we doing tonight? Or morning there, I suppose.
Whatever time it is when you're listening to this, it doesn't matter, but hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're going into our last week, as you're aware, both for the show and the Kickstarter for Relict. Final push, really exciting. We got stretch goals unlocking. I was just telling you in the pre-roll here, I've been getting messages from Sounds Like Adventure fans talking about Sounds Like Relict, which has been amazing. Thank you all. Really, the feedback and the well wishes on all of this has been truly fantastic, and I just wanted to appreciate and thank your audience for validating this weird experiment and the chance that Jack and the guys took on me. Thank you. Woo!
No, it's been amazing. We've heard lots of great things as well. People are really loving it. And yeah, I guess if you've already backed, make sure you get your finances in order. Get ready for those charges to come through. And if you haven't backed yet, this is your last couple of chances here. This is the final push. So we want you to do it. We got a special link in the show notes for the episode. If you click that link and back through that, then Chris will know that you came through the Sounds Like Adventure path. So make sure you do that. But what is the next stretch goal that we're pushing for here? Can we hit it before the end?
Yeah, we are still creeping up on Sky en Route, which is our flying city sky pirate hot air balloon adventure, which is promising to be quite a lot of fun. I'm really hoping we get that one. I have gone ahead and released the details of the remaining stretch goals on the roadmap, just in case we have a crazy last minute push here and people want to know what's coming down the line. So that's all on the page right now. We've got some really cool stuff in the pipeline. And furthermore, at this point, the campaign has already been a success. It's been fantastic. Thank you all so much. This is truly amazing. The stretch goals at this point mean for Relict more budget to do cooler stuff for the rest of 2024. So I want to keep pushing and get us across that finish line with a lot of momentum. But it's already been a success in my book, and that's great. But every little bit, it's a free system. It's a free game. This is where the budget for the year is coming from. And we've got some really cool stuff that I'm hoping we can do for everybody this year. So.
And look, Chris is nicer than me. It is definitely a success already, but we're pushing hard. We want to get through to the end. We want to hit all the stretch goals. We want to do it all. So come on, Chris, the folks at Hounds on Games, you guys really need this. This helps out a lot. And it's just a small amount of money when you really look at it. So if you can afford this type of thing, if you've been interested or excited in anything that we've done, or if you want to bring 10 Silvers Bent to your table, go ahead, back the campaign. You're not going to regret it. These books are so cool. The system is so fun. You're going to have an amazing time. But speaking of amazing times, let's talk about today's episode. So it's a bumper episode. The audience, you folks listening, you would have already noticed the runtime on this episode's a monster. So strap in. I hope you have a fun time. People always tell us they want more. So we are giving you more right now, that's for sure.
Careful what you wish for.
Yes. This episode, you wanted to sort of escalate things a little bit, and you wanted to show off some of the leveling up side of things and some of the different abilities that characters get access to. So all of us, we leveled up by a couple of different levels this episode. So break it down. How many levels did we level up by, and what's the whole level up experience like in Relict?
Yeah, so up until now in 10 Silvers Bent, you guys were all level 1 characters. So that whole fight with the birds and rescuing Noodles and all that, you were level 1 characters, multi-class from the jump, the Relict way. This episode, between shows, we went ahead and leveled you guys up to level 4. The rationale, like you said, we wanted to give people an example of, what play looks like after a couple levels, kind of how the characters evolve, kind of get a little bit of A and B. And the big thing that happens, the reason we went to 4 is one of the level up options. Every level you get a couple of options to make you a little better at the things that you like doing in your classes. One of the options you get at level 4 is to take some of these secondary skills from your minor class or your influence class and remove all of the cost multipliers on those and just make them part of your main class so they're way easier and more efficient to use. And we wind up seeing, I believe, a good bit of that throughout the episode here as our characters are kind of growing into these multi-class amalgams and really kind of growing into the characters that you all imagined them to be from the jump. And they came together so well. I'm so enthused, so keen, as Jacob is fond of saying, on the characters you all brought to the table here. And let's hurt them a bit, shall we?
Yeah, we won't let Jacob. That's just Australian right there. Keen. We use keen all the time. I'm keen as, bro.
Yeah, the first time they said that to me, I had to look up a translator and figure out if they were asking me to be on the show or not.
Do you have keen as mustard in your country?
You're just making up nonsense now. This is drop bears all over again,
No,
Jack.
it's not. Keen as mustard's a real phrase. Great. Well, that's all we need to cover. So let's get into the episode. So you'll remember from last episode, we just went through a bit of an unsettling encounter, but I'm not going to say too much because at the beginning of this episode, Chris has got a great recap of everything that happened. So let's get into it. It's the final episode of Sounds Like Relict, 10 Silver's Bet.
All right, gentlemen, last time as we left off, you were stepping out of the battered tulip. The ship had just bucked, jumping out of the water in a splinter of wood and spray. You had just learned from Scrum and Daisy that good old Captain Swinscombe and possibly Riley Bucksweeper were hanging out down there, scaring people away. There had been a bit of an incident with some other... I'm going to say, as you step out, you kind of have this vista that we see before us here. You're looking out into Tumble Frey Harbor. You can see the shackle there in the middle. Early, kind of thready morning light coming in, quickly being occluded by an approaching storm front. As you step outside, the first thing you notice, first of all, is anyone taking any actions or anything? I'm going to say that people are, it's early in the morning. We're kind of just maybe half an hour past dawn. So it's not that busy down here yet. But I think you immediately clock that people are kind of angling away from the area. Like there's a bad vibe in the air. People are leaving.
Where are they coming from and where are they heading to?
So at this time of the morning, the harbor never truly sleeps, but it does have peak and kind of lull times where it's more and less busy. This point in the morning, usually it's ships that are trying to sail to catch the tide and leave, so there are often crew members and various passengers and merchants who are there kind of to just take advantage of the tides as whatever they happen to be that day. Most people who would be down here at this time are workers. They're working, so it is unusual to see them leaving the waterfront. I think you see as you kind of step out of the tulip onto these ramshackle boardwalks that kind of make up most of the walkways and muddy roads and byways through Bollocks docks and all of these shattered kind of amalgamated buildings. You see people kind of not sprinting, but like double timing it away from there's something going on over there. I don't like it. And actually, I'm going to say as you step out, who's carrying the crate of Molotov cocktails that you guys just acquired? You have 12 of them.
Definitely not Leo.
Yeah, I think Zane would be carrying them, probably not intending to use them, but being the pack mule that he is.
Okay, Zane holding this crate of Cowdine Ale or whatever fantasy liquor we said it was last time that strips the varnish off the bars. You step out, and I think you feel something bump against your leg. You look down, and you see Rover, the armchair-sized mastiff that Scrum and Daisy keep as their sentry behind the bar, looking up at you with a package in its mouth, kind of hanging like a little cloth burlap sack, and it kind of jingles as it does that with a note pinned on it.
Zane's holding the box, and I look down like, oh, hey, g'day, Rover. And I look over to whoever's near, say Leo, and I dog's got a nut, and I point at it with my lips. I'm like,
down there. Leo gets down to one knee, gives like Leo a pat under the chin, and is like, "Well, what do we have here?" And yeah, Pop takes the gift the baggie off the pup.
As you take the bag from Rover, you see there's a moment where he's kind of like tug, but he remembers that he's here for a job. So he lets go this slobbery burlap sack. And as you take it away from him, go ahead and make a precision check for me. Target for this is going to be a 9.
Beautiful. That is a 13.
Okay, you just step out of the way as Rover's massive tongue sweeps through the air to try and lick you in the face. You dodge back. Rover looks a little disappointed about it, but he kind of gets up and trundles off back behind the tulip. On the note, you see scrawled in this neat, precise little flourishy handwriting, "Hey boys, almost forgot. Had a couple of things stashed in the back of the flower shop, for emergencies and such. I'm sure Leo or Zane, you guys can put this to good use. And in the bag are 4 potions. So Rover trundles off, heading back towards presumably the bolt hole where Scrum and Daisy have headed off to. Zane, as you guys kind of stand out in front of this and kind of divvy up the potions, collect yourselves, you spot a familiar face. Say, probably 1 block over. Saxton is walking towards the shore.
so he's walking towards the shore. Is he walking towards us?
He's walking. He hasn't reacted to you yet, but he is getting closer. He will, on his current path, pass by the battered door.
I'm going to just quickly try and say to Leo, don't let that guy know I'm here. And then I'm going to try and slink back inside for a second, just quickly duck back in the door. And I'm back to the wall.
Okay.
Would Leo know your history with Saxton?
Leo saved me from betraying
Okay.
Saxon. So I'm like, that's Saxon. Just going inside.
Yeah, I think Leo would just non-committally try and let him walk past without interaction at this point. I think he'd see it as a, you know what I mean, a minor point for a lesser concern for the current ongoings. But probably hands out these potions across to George and Zane as well. I'll actually probably keep Zane's on him till he's got hands free. But anyway, I think would also be heading the opposite direction of the crowd to try and sort of figure out what's going on. As we heard about the captain and that, and we've just seen Noodles try to get taken by one of these worm things. I think that Leo wants to know more. Leo wants to learn more. Especially about the missing memories and so on and so forth. So I think Leo would be like, wait for Saxon to get a little bit past, and then to Zane be like, well, we're all heading the same way, so.
So Saxon passes by the entrance to the tulip and walks down towards the direction you guys are heading towards the double back key. Leo, you move to kind of head off in that direction as well, and after a moment you realize, something's not quite right. First of all, you know that thing where you're walking on a crowded street and the person in front of you can't seem to remember how to walk at a decent human pace and you want to murder them to death? Saxon's doing that. He's kind of meandering, dazed, and if you'd like, you can go ahead and make a check about it. I'm going to let you decide what stat you would like to use. They will reveal different things.
Probably knowledge, because medicine and so on, and he's already studied these. The effects of these. Oh, well, there you go. That's a big old 1. + 2 is 3.
Leo, you really want to get down to the ship, and this guy's just in the way.
Yeah, he's pissing me off.
Zane, what are you doing?
I think I would have probably noticed that he just wandered past and jogged to catch up with Leo, and I'm probably hanging a little bit back, but it's kind of weird. Is this odd for Saxon to be kind of just ambling about?
Zane, as you're kind of coming up, carrying your crate of bombs, just looking oh God, I don't want him to see me, you realize that, Saxon is walking just slack, shuffling, and, his head is not even, facing the direction that his body is moving. In order to get more information about this, you would have to put yourself in a position where you might possibly be seen by him at this point. So what does Zane want to do at this moment? I'm gonna put this on you.
I reckon in this point, feel like Zane's pretty observant, and he's noticed there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and he knows he just pulled this weird thing out of his own body. So he's going to be something's up with this dude. Maybe he's been infected by something as well. So I think Zane's just going to step in front and be like, "Hey, Saxon, you all right, mate?"
Glassy eyes do not even turn to regard you as he simply attempts to continue on his path. Jack, no roll required on this one. When you hit the nail on the head, you hit the nail on the head. Saxon is moving like you saw Noodle move in those moments before you manage to extract the worm from him and prevent it from doing whatever it was going to do that would, presumably lead to something like the birds. Saxon did not have a hair trap to stop him and have someone prevent this thing from going further. Saxon has been infected and is moving towards the ship.
Okay, Zane at least would turn, I think, to Leo, who's just trying to shuffle past him. And Zane would be like, "Oh yeah, Leo, I reckon this guy's got one of them bugs in him. Hey, you got another one of them hair treatments?"
Well, it wasn't a hair treatment that got it out of Noodle. It was something else. But Leo probably looks immediately his attitude shifts. "Oh, I see." And then walks around and he's walking alongside him at the slow pace, that is studying him up and down and being "Well, I can see it affects the limbs and the movement. But the
As you're observing him, he is walking not just towards the ship, but on the most direct, physically possible path. You actually, I think, see him at one point stumble off a berm, instead of going down the stairs right next to it, just fall down and get up, all convoluted and crawling, and just sort of get up on some limbs and keep moving in that direction until he kind of evens out.
Can I make either another knowledge or a cleverness check to see if I think he's too far gone?
Yeah, okay, so that would be... Knowledge is probably the most applicable here, but one thing we do in Relic is if you want to use a different stat and tell me how it applies to the situation, you're welcome to do that.
No, I think knowledge makes sense. It's science medicine, yeah, that makes sense more. 9 plus 2, 11.
11's not a bad roll at all. I think really hard to tell sort of in the field, as it were, when you're dealing with a situation like this. You want to do tests, you want to get samples, you want to do all this other stuff. Gut check. Based on the progression that you saw in your own stuff, based on what you saw starting to happen to Noodle, and based on how you saw smaller organisms react, like the birds, I think Leo kind of makes the connection of there might be an accelerating effect with smaller body masses and this, that, and the other thing. There is a slim chance where if you were able to do something quickly, it might be a Noodle situation where you could get him back, or he might be badly hurt or sick and do it. But I think what Leo figures out is that the longer these things have been truly metamorphosizing a host, the further and further gone they are, to the point where it's probably...
I think Leo would then probably turn to the others, probably pointedly at Zane, well, he's too far gone, but I'm sure that we could use him as a guide to our objective.
George speaks up and says, like, you think he'd be okay with that? Like, he's not really reacting to anything around him, is he?
He like bounces off the corner of a building and keeps going, like just.
I say we follow the infected to the infection.
But, and I'm saying this to you, you're a smart person. We're pretty sure where the infection is coming from, namely the ship that we arrived on. If we let this guy team up with his friends at the ship, there's just going to be one more obstacle there. We could just take him out now. He's all by himself. Relieve him of his suffering, if you will.
Well, yeah, I kind of know this guy a little bit. Like, he wasn't really the nicest guy ever. Like, maybe if we, like, is there any way you reckon we could get it out of him still or something like that? Like, do we just, like, give him a good bump on the noggin or something?
Not well versed enough to know that, but I don't believe we can get it out of him without great harm to his person.
Might be worth it, eh? Like, might be worth the risk.
Causing great harm to his person.
Yeah, that's probably worth it. It's kind of caused me a bit of grief over the years. Kind of would clear up a bit of a problem for me, to be honest.
Leo probably. Yeah, I think Leo, like, ticking over the options and the weighing up the cause and effect and things like that in his head, looks Zane dead in the eye and goes, well, you owe me now for more than one, and takes out his blade and slit throat from behind.
Leo absolutely shanks Saxon and just brings him to the ground. What do you want to do?
I think Leo's sort of action is from behind, as we're meandering behind him, just following his route. I think Leo just sort of reaches a hand up and just does the like throat slash, catches Saxon and like lowers him to the ground in like that sort of smooth motion. Very practiced, unnervingly practiced.
Our favorite war criminal. Zane and George, what are we doing as Leo and just drops Saxon?
George has his short sword out, the big axe on his back, and he's like looking for that creature, making sure the creature can't escape. That's like he's ready to like stab it.
George is ready. Zane, got a moment. What's up?
I'm still holding the box. Zane is like, oh, I kind of wanted to stab him. He's like my villain from my backstory, and you killed him. Oh, fine.
So, Leo grabs this guy, puts him on the ground. George standing ready, looking for that worm, much like what escaped from Noodle. Zane holding a box full of flammable items. I think there's a moment we're all expecting something to happen, the worm to crawl out, something to crawl away, a creature, the specimen to make some motion. But instead what happens is Saxon's flesh begins to unknit and warp and twist, much more in line with the mutated and twisted birds that you guys had fought earlier. This thing is no longer a discrete, separate organism. It has, in fact, infected, assimilated, and changed Saxon himself. Saxon is falling down injured and effectively dead at this point. But very quickly, Leo, in your expertise, you notice that this thing, like, anatomically doesn't make sense anymore. You killed it. It is not physically strong. It is mortally wounded, dead, dying, bleeding out. The blood doesn't look right. It's gooey. It's wrong colors. It's pearlescent in places. It coagulates and starts to reform into something else, another shape, before kind of losing its coherence and falling apart. And parts of his body are twisting. His jaw unhinges sideways in a way that doesn't make sense before snapping shut with teeth that shouldn't be there. And then it gurgles and dies.
I think Leo just sort of, not even looking, takes one of the Molotovs from Zane's box and just like lights it and drops it on it just to be like, well, that's done with, and and continues on his way towards the ship. I think very, very like he watches it happen, being like, yep, that's horrifying. We'll put that in the past.
11 Molotovs remain in the box.
George said that was a waste. Could have done with half of that. It's like, it seems like I need to be in charge of this box, and he takes the box from Zane.
George takes the box from Zane and follows after Leo, heading back towards the shore. I think Zane has a moment standing there over the burning body of your former tormentor, which, by the way, does not smell, 1, pleasant, or 2, like any kind of burning meat you've ever experienced. More like a chemical fire.
Zane, I think, would probably look over the body of Saxon and just be like, well, see ya, and just walks away. So I don't think he has like a big, powerful moment with him or anything like that. He's just like, I survived and you didn't, so ha.
So it goes. So it goes. As you guys approach, you are now basically on the dock front, the waterfront street. I'm going to say a block or 2 from the double back quay. You see the ship broken up over the wharf, the dock itself, from the collision, but also it seems to have shifted since you departed last. The ship has not only crashed, but it seems like it's starting to split open. Anyone who wants to can go ahead and make a precision check for me to sort of see what's up as you step out into the sea.
Definitely will. 8 plus 3, 11.
Ooh.
Oh,
I've got,
yeah.
that's a 12. So it's crit. And I've got 1 precision at 13.
and I rolled a 3, plus 3 is a 6.
Zane's got a lot of stuff going on right now.
I think I'm going to take that as one of those fate points.
For sure. All right, so Leo and George, you step out and you see the ship has started to. The keel is broken on this ship. It is starting to split open along its length. You see there is a mass of material growing out of the various splits in the hull, kind of writhing and wriggling, even from the distance as you can see it. And you see coming out of the top, the split that is opening on the top deck, is a large cartilaginous mass forcing its way out. There are two humanoid figures standing up there. George, on that 12, I'm going to say, as you step down to the dock front, you see that there are more infected coming towards the ship from multiple directions, like Saxon, shuffling towards it. Some are already there, some are coming up from down the waterfront behind you or down in the other direction and kind of converging on the vessel itself. They all seem very single-minded, heading towards this thing.
Yeah, George will turn to his two companions and say, "This doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. I think I need to pray to Chameleon and see if this is the right way." And he, with the box of burnable materials in his hand, it just closes his eyes and leans back his head upwards a bit. Yeah, we should totally burn them down. George puts down the box and he hands, we got 11 left, right? So he hands 2 each side takes 2 of them in his own hands and is like, throw them into the crowd, and then we keep chugging them onto the boat. We burn as many as possible, and then we kill the rest. And if more burns down around it, I think that's the sacrifice that needs to be done. This can't spread any further.
I think Leo would see this as sort of best course of action. Let's kill the infection before it spreads, sort of thing. So yeah, Leo would dutifully be lighting his Molotovs to chuck them in. Actually, can I oh no, I shouldn't need to. No, I think just lights it up, and then he'll lob one to the far left side of like the ring, sort of encircling this part of the dock.
Trying to set up like a cordon of fire. Fantastic. I'm going to say you guys can go ahead and do that as we kick off initiative here. I'm going to move us over to the map. Let's go ahead and roll initiative, gentlemen.
That is a 4 for me.
Lovely.
That's a 1 for Leo.
That's a 3 for George.
You see a number of other zombies already kind of crawling around. And the first thing I'm going to say before we even get the initiative rolling here is you all can lob one cocktail if you so choose. Tell me where you're putting them.
Zane's aiming for the people up on the boat.
Okay.
The people, the 2 humanoid figures we saw.
I think Leo was more aiming for this sort of area there, like just towards the front of the boat, but still on the dock, so to sort of cordon off an area with fire.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just mark off an area here. And George, where are you going to chuck one?
Bam. Right there.
First thing up, all of the infected react as you pelt a cocktail, a burning, flaming, sticky, alcoholic substance explodes onto the dock. Fire begins to burn. One of the infected is caught in that. Definitely, not only do you see it react, but there's almost like a murmuration effect. If you ever see like a flock of birds kind of all, or a school of fish all react when one of them is affected by something, all of the infected seem to ripple, including the mass in the ship and the 2 up on the deck. All immediately pivot. Notice you guys. Whoever threw that one, that was George, go ahead and roll a d6 for me.
All right. That is a 5.
That infected succumbs to the fire and dies. You see the figure standing closest to you guys on the deck turns around, and I think as you guys are drawing close at this point, you recognize him as Captain Warden Swinscombe. But, well, he's wearing the skin of Captain Warden Swinscombe, and what's left of the uniform of him. His features, even at this distance, are twisted and distorted and strange. And he turns, he says, "No! The feast is prepared. The banquet is laid out. Salvation comes." And he is going to, as his action on his turn, whip back to the figure you see behind him is Riley Bucksweeper. He grabs Bucksweeper and throws him into the mass coming out of the ship. Bucksweeper just ragdolls. He does not even attempt to resist as this mass of worms and tentacles and amorphous ooze writhes and consumes him. Zane, you're up.
Ooh, boy. He probably just yells out, "Shut up, Swin's mum!" And then there's a guy behind him here, so I think he's just going to swing around with the sword and attack that guy.
Okie dokie. Bucksweeper is off.
That's a 9 plus 4 is a 13.
9 plus 4 is a 13, but also you are using Dock Worker, are you not?
I am.
That is a crit, my friend. First attack of the encounter.
Of an 8 plus is a crit?
Yes. Zane's lovely custom curved blade. It's called Dock Worker, created as part of 10 silver spent here. Has a increased critical chance on his first attack of an encounter to kind of commemorate Zane's excellent blade work. So go ahead. You can either, it's got a double critical effect, so you can choose one or the other, or take a fate point.
So 2 critical effects. It's got quick, as a free action, make another attack with this weapon immediately after this one, limit once per weapon per round. And then the second one is lacerate ++, inflict bleeding for 4 rounds. I think I'm going to take that quick effect there.
Okay.
Make that an extra attack.
All right, so go ahead and roll your damage on this first one, because these things don't have tremendous health.
So 3 on the first
All right,
one.
so you take a nasty chunk out of this infected here. This elvish woman who's kind of twisted and just like isn't even looking at you, is just sort of still trying to shuffle past you, but is still standing. And you get an immediate free attack on it.
That's an 8 + 4.
Hits. Go ahead and roll your damage.
And then, great. A 1.
Yay.
This thing is still barely limping along. However, you have 2 actions per round. That was a free attack. You still have 1 more action.
Let's go again. One more time. Rolls a 2 + a 4, 6.
Does hit. These are just infected
thank
half
you.
the zombies.
Yay.
Come on. And just 2 damage there, not the +1.
That thing loses coherence and falls down in a heap. Zane, maybe that was a struggle internally for you, but you guys see your warrior friend Zane turn and slice and dice, take this thing into pieces. That is Zane's turn. George, you are up.
I'm gonna chuck 2 more Molotovs, and I'm trying to hit that whatever arriving mass on the ship,
All right, sure thing.
which I think is probably here.
Yeah, so the double back keen, we haven't actually talked about very much yet. The double back has it's called a well deck. So it is made to dredge up things from the sea floor, pull them up through kind of like a double hull with a hole in the middle, with winches and cranes and block and tackle and everything, and then put flooring under it, sort through it, and then open the flooring back up. But there is that can be closed into sort of a water hold underneath it, like on some shipping vessels where you have a wet hold. I guess I don't know what the nautical term is there. So whatever is coming out of that is coming out of that contained interior aquarium, effectively. It's the best way I can describe it.
Maybe that's not the best idea to chuck fire into water.
George has a moment where he remembers what water do.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to chuck it onto the captain then, over here somewhere, onto the ship, make the ship burn. Kind of. That's the trick.
If you're at 60 feet, go ahead and roll a d8 for me.
So that's a 10 + 1, 11.
Nail it. Where do you want to put it?
So, and I spend a lot of time on that ship, so I would know where that hold is. So I'll throw it here. Keep burn it, make it all burn.
Beautiful. All right, so the whole front of this ship is on fire at this point. You guys see this shipwreck is just, and the nature of fire is that it spreads and grows, right? So right now there's a couple of small alcohol fires that are beginning to creep into the rigging and the sails and the rope.
If the ship is sufficiently on fire, I'd probably throw the second one onto the guy right here.
No roll necessary. You can just pinpoint that one. So go ahead and roll a d6 for me.
That's 6.
Okay, that's a 6. That thing also succumbs to fire immediately, and the fire is spreading. I'm going to do some fire spready stuff as the rounds click on. And multiple fires is the reason I'm marking them with these little X's. Multiple fires as they combine will get worse.
So we threw 5 so far. And I turned to Leo and said, this potion chugging stuff, it's a lot of fun, actually. I can see how that's your thing.
Beautiful. All right, so Leah is going to dart just past Zane I'm going to. I think I'm going to lob one of my concoctions. Sorry, I'm gonna use my own concoction, Dr. Leopold's affectation alleviation. I'm gonna dash it at the remaining zombie-looking.
Okay. Go ahead and read that one off for us. This is Leo's custom concoction.
All creatures in a 5-foot radius take 1d6 poison damage, but subtract 1d4 from any affliction table rolls they make in the next minute. If an affliction roll would be less than 1, they avoid the affliction.
Yeah, so you're poisoning. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. Go ahead and roll your damage. This is going to do some weird stuff because Plague Doctor, and you've thrown what is generally a healing buff item onto an infected enemy zombie. So we're going to do some cool stuff. So go ahead and roll your d6. Let's see how much poison it hits for.
4.
4. Okay, that thing is going to go down to literally 1 hit point remaining. I said earlier with Saxon that there was a percentage chance that, he could be recovered in certain situations, but it was pretty low. Go ahead and roll a percentile dice for me.
Yay. 20 out of 100.
Okay. I believe the elf's name who you owed a debt to at your potion shop was Fiora?
Yeah.
You see Fiora barf this twisting mass of tentacles and ichor and ichor just down onto the dock as she collapses. She is badly maimed, but not as far along as Saxon, almost as if she had only been infected for a short time, like, say, since you guys had visited this afternoon. She collapses down to her knees, gasping. Go ahead and roll on that mutagenic table for me.
Yay! 1d12. That is a 10. So
read it off for me.
Her knees are replaced by rubbery knots of sinew that flex in all directions, but provide little support. They have a -1 penalty to might and precision checks for the first day that they have this effect.
And how long does that effect last based on your concoction? Your concoction description.
1d4 days. So it lasts for 4 days. I love this character so much. I just want you to know that.
I got hit by a thing once and then my knees got all bouncy for 4 days. It was really a pain in the neck.
And I imagine that Leo as well in a passing comments like, I consider us even.
I just want to take a brief detour from the unfolding climactic battle here to just narrate how Fiora's afternoon has gone. That guy Leo just got out of prison, came in here asking for these insane reagents, haggling like crazy, running up his tab. I tried to warn him, it's going into more debt, it's going to be a problem, it's coming due, your hold is expired because you're no longer incarcerated. Then I felt really funny after he left. Someone told me later that there had been a scuffle right outside the store, but I don't remember any of that. The next thing I know, I'm down on the docks throwing up and my knees feel funny. Fiora has had a day. Anyways. Fiora collapses to the ground. Where am I? Why? Oh no! And she just starts crawling away. And she's going to be trying to get out of here. I'm going to put a little clear marker on her. The mass within the ship writhes. You see the whole ship splintering wood shoots into the air as this thing flexes and begins to crawl out of the vessel. all of you fall to your knees, clutching your eardrums as this rending noise thrums out, shattering through Bollocks docks. You see a shockwave truly like ripple across the water out into the bay. It's this deep, there's a shrill tone right at the ultrasonic high end of your hearing, and then also this bassy rumble that shakes and vibrates your chest and seems to be seeping in through your hands, through whatever, your helmets, shaking you at like a fundamental level. Everybody takes 6 sonic damage and 4 psychic damage.
Damn. Okay, so that's 1 round of deafened. Yeah, so 1 round of deafened. And sorry, what was the other? 4 shocking?
Psychic.
Okay, so I got to do it. So we all got to do a willpower check to avoid being frightened.
I believe so, yeah.
Make a willpower check to avoid being frightened.
Target is 2 plus current psychic damage. Okay, so it's a 6 willpower check. Okay, beautiful.
Oh, no.
That's a 6.
Beats it.
All right. I have nothing in willpower, so it's a flat roll. Here we go. No, it's a 4.
So Zane has got a round of frightened.
I'm deaf and I'm scared.
I'll use a fate point to add 1d8, and that's at 7. So
Avoid the frightened. Beautiful.
Can I also use a fate point? I forgot about fate
absolutely.
points.
You can use them as free actions kind of as they become useful, so go for it.
All right. As I envision this to light, like gold, red, and green light shines around George and like protects him from this effect.
Yeah, this rippling shockwave kind of crashes around you and breaks like a wave.
Okay, I'm going to use my fate point as well. So 1d8, come on. Son of a gun. That's a 1 on that d8.
That's hilarious.
It's literally the only number I could roll not to be successful.
Incredible.
So Zane, you've taken a round of Frightened, my friend. Frightened, for those playing along at home, your attack rolls are halved. You may only move towards hostile creatures at half speed. And something really, really bad happens if you get to 10 rounds of Frightened at once, but that is pretty hard to do. These do go away at the end of your turn.
Checks out that Zane would be more spooked than these two as well.
Yeah, the ship just yelled at you. I mean, you're having a whole day. Okay. As this shockwave echoes out into the bay, start to hear shouting down the dock further away. People reacting and screaming, and bells begin to toll. And you look out, I think, into the bay itself, beyond the ship, beyond the fire that is growing. You guys see a storm surge coming in, almost in response to this thing. Storm surge came in, the docks began to flood, and all the ships surged forward. So people kind of get pushed around, buffered by the waves slightly. Some of the fire, actually, I think all of your fires are still burning, so let's go ahead and grow those suckers.
Yeah, it's very good that they're still burning, because George's got a plan.
So does Leo. Yeah, I'm.
Zane has no plan. He'll help out, but he has no idea what the hell is going on right now.
Okay, yeah, this enormous thing has crunched and emerged from the bowels of the ship, displacing water and wood. Swinscombe has kind of stepped back from it. I think you see maybe the remains of Riley Bucksweeper just sort of melding into it. The infected are up next. As part of that, poor Fiora is going to try and crawl away. Just 2 actions, reduced speed, but still going to try and make her way the heck out of here. The other infected, another one, is going to just sort of throw itself at the mass of this thing. More infected are emerging from Bollocks docks behind, coming out of the city, coming up the docks and the wharf towards this nexus. Up next, Captain Swinscombe, what's left of him, turns. You will not interfere. You guys got to kill him before my vocal cords explode.
Stretch this out as long as possible, guys.
In Relict, there are two types of monsters. There are simple monsters, which is what most of you guys have fought so far, the birds, the zombies. They have basic health, they have basic attacks, they do their thing. Then there are advanced monsters. These are made for cinematic battles. They don't have to be boss battles, but often can be. They can mix and match with the simple monsters like we have in this encounter. Both Swimscom and the large behemoth beast thing are forms of advanced monster stat blocks. They have mana and stamina, which they spend to do things. They also have wounds that they can take based on how you guys do things to them, which will cause different effects. Swinscom is going to turn. He's going to go ahead and use his first action. Use Depths of Hunger. He's going to burn some mana. I'll use my handy dandy counter. This is included in our Kickstarter, by the way. He's going to burn some mana to cast a cone of freezing brine into the fire that is racking the ship. And it's going to go ahead. It does a bunch of cold damage, but what it's actually going to do is just eliminate a large part of that fire that is burning there. That is his first action. His second action, let's see, who is within... I'm trying to see if anyone is just within range. And poor Leo is. So we're going to go ahead.
How dare you?
Pop off his second ability. Spend some mana here. In fairness, I do need to remind you guys that you can spend mana to counter spells if you so choose.
I have plans for my mana.
Okay, hey, no, these...
Actually, I will. Can I use four mana to try and counter spell?
All right, so you spend 4 mana to attempt to counter this. You feel this guy pull up his will, draw power from the ether, and channel it towards you. You throw up just an amorphous, metaphysical ball of nonsense and noise to try and disrupt his spellcasting. It isn't powerful enough. 4 mana does not do it, but it does burn off your 4 mana. I am sorry. However, part of this is sonic damage, and I'm going to give you guys a bit of a buff against that because you're deaf right now, which I think is only fair. I need everybody to go ahead and make a fortitude check for me. The target is 11, but I will say the further away you are, the better that is. Really only Leo is in the danger zone here.
All right. I rolled an 8 plus 3, 11.
Got a 6, but I'm also the furthest away.
11 plus 3, 14.
Okay. Leo, you make the check. Fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and roll up 10 sonic damage for Leo plus 1d4, but hold on. Wow, he maxed that. 10 sonic damage plus 4 psychic damage for Leo. However, I'm going to have the sonic damage because you're deafened, so this is really just the traumatic force of the air vibrating at you, but not the actual sonic.
Deafened for one more round, and the psychic was 4.
Psychic was 4. Everybody else who is beyond that range, if you made the check, you're going to take... Wait, Leo, you also made the check, so have that again for me. I'm sorry. So that'll be 2 psychic plus 2.
Okay, so I don't get another round of deafen then, because I go just underneath. Yep.
Yeah, so Chai, George, you're going to go ahead and take 5 sonic damage, and Zane, you're going to go ahead and take 2 for me. Reverberates out like a smaller version of what the big thing just did.
So psychic. So I need to make another willpower check, which is... That's a 9 plus 2 is 11. So yeah, I make my frightened check.
That is the Maw Priest's turn. Zane, you are up. George, you are on deck.
I think Zane, he's deaf, he's scared, he's looking around, there's this big monster, he's like frantically staring around, he turns around, he sees this other one behind him. I think he just pulls his sword out and just like puts it right in front of himself and he just runs directly at it and just just plunge the sword directly into this thing. So he gets half movement, so that's 15 feet.
So, and then what's the penalty for attacks?
So it's going to cost 3 stamina instead of 1 to make the attack. You make the attack with a D8 instead of a D12. However, you may still use like careful attack and stuff if you want.
Okay, I'll just make it this attack like this. Plus might, so 1d8 plus 4. And that's 5 plus 4 is 9.
4 is 9. I actually, with your might, I don't know if you can miss these guys, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, these are not
Keep swinging.
strong. Okay, so go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay, 1d8. I forgot to add my plus 1 from my mastery on the last one, so I'll add that one in this time. 4 plus 1 is a 5.
This thing dies immediately.
And it's not graceful by Zane at all. Just stabs him, the sword stuck in there. He's looking around all wild-eyed.
Oh, it's gone bad. That was a dash. That was a dash attack. You have one more action.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. A dash attack is a way to move and take an attack or cast a spell with a penalty to it.
Is the boat there at all? Still, like, what does he see? What does Zane see when he turns around? Is probably a good aggressive.
The boat has been, all of the boats in Bollocks docks have been forced several feet further forward by this rising water. And I think you see, as you're looking out, the water level is increasing, like a surge is coming, and you're kind of at the leading seconds of it right now. And the boats are starting to snap their mooring and come forward. The Doubleback Keen is listed quite badly on its side at this point. It's kind of like rolling up onto the shore. So you've got a pretty good view of the whole top deck of that ship right now.
Okay, well, I think he's sort of like just like roughly yanks the sword out of the guy and then just like wildly throws a Molotov cocktail like roughly towards the Doubleback Keen is probably what he does.
Yeah, go ahead and make a precision attack with that. That'll be D12 plus precision. And we're going to say, because Zane is sort of in a way right now, go ahead and make the roll. Let's see how it lands. It may not matter.
Oh, okay. That's like it's a crit. 12 plus 3, 15.
Yeah, so I'm not going to worry about adding weird riders to that condition there. So Zane hucks a Molotov, I'll say within 60 feet. Where do you want to pinpoint it?
Pretty far. I'm going to try and lob it straight onto Swin's dome up there.
You turn and hurl this thing. It spins through the air, this little flare through the night that bursts across him and just douses him in fire. Go ahead and roll up a d6 for me.
That's a 2.
All right, so 2 fire damage immediately to Swinscom, but he is on fire for sure. In fact, let's go ahead. We'll do this mechanically. Go ahead and roll up another d6 for me. We'll stick with the same dice size.
That is a 6.
Swinscom has gained 6 ignite counters, so he is very on fire right now. That is going to stick with him even if he moves out of the immediate sight of the fire until that is taken care of for him. I will point out, to be fair, he is standing next to a number of bodies of water. That might come into play. But it will certainly dictate his future actions. Zane, I think in your fear, you see Swinscom as the fire kind of licks across him and damages his clothing. He kind of unfolds and you see what has become of the warden. So, that was Zane. George.
Could I, and I'm happy to use both of my actions for that, grab the crate, run forward, and then chuck the whole thing towards the captain and the big thing?
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I love a good devil's bargain here. So here's what we're going to do. Yeah. So if this is going to take your whole turn, absolutely. But you're a big, strong guy. We can make this happen. So I will say there is fire on the docks in your path there to get close enough to be able to huck that thing. If you stop short of the fire, we are going to roll. It's going to be harder than just throwing the individual grenades, right? But we are going to roll to see kind of where it lands scatter-wise. Or if you run through the fire right up to the ship, up to your movement, submitting yourself to that fire in order to guarantee I will let you put that anywhere within 30 feet of where you wind up exactly as you want it.
I kind of like that it's going to scatter. It's fun. It's because it's a crate, and there's 4 bottles in the crate. They're going to fall out and spread out, I guess. It's happening. Just onto the deck to this, and then chuck it over the fire to where the big plume of fire is, where Zane just chucked it.
And the whole side of the ship is on fire. Go ahead, because some of those came up the same. George, roll 2d6 for me.
There we go. 2d6 coming up. That's a 3 and a 6, total of 9.
Beautiful. Because several of those landed in the same spot in a place that was already on fire, those are not going to deal fire damage. You have dealt 9 explosive damage to the big creature, Captain Swinscombe, and the infected that is trying to clamber up the side of the ship right there. So that thing is immediately destroyed. 9 doesn't feel like enough. I'm going to go ahead and double that. You've done 18 explosive damage. I did not plan for daisy cutters to be going off here, so I'm kind of improvising this a little bit. 18 explosive damage is quite a good bit. Explosion is nasty. Not much has defense against it. So a good chunk taken out of both Swinscombe and the massive creature behind.
Yeah. George doesn't hear any of it. He's deaf.
And just... what song is playing through George's head as he kind of dances through this?
He's like, da, 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 da.
Just Flight of the Bumblebees.
I think we know what songs are really playing in this sense.
For copyright purposes, it's Leo's turn.
Yeah.
There's in my heart, the fire's burning.
Leo crouches down as I cast Aura of Ease around myself.
Go on.
So which provides me an extra 10 foot of jump.
Lovely.
And I am going to jump myself up onto the front of the boat here.
Actually, Swinscombe nuked it with cold to put the fire out because it was going to be a problem for him.
Yeah, I know. It played perfectly into what I wanted to do. So I jump up there and then I'm going to throw my toxic brew. I don't know how flammable this poisonous gas is, but here we go. Okay, so toxic brew. I throw a cocktail of reagents at a space within range, which react to form a cloud of toxic fumes upon impact. Creatures that start their turn within the cloud take 1d6 poisonous damage. The cloud partially my cloud fully obscures the area as well, so they cannot see out of the cloud, and lingers for 1d4 rounds.
Leo crouches down like a superhero, charges up into an anime character, leaps into the sky, perches on the bow of the ship while launching down from above this toxic grenade that bursts and covers this flaming Maw Priest and the things around it in poison. All right. That is the coolest thing in the world. Leo, you have thrown a toxic chemical concoction onto an immolated target. He has got 5 ignite counters stacked on him right now, thanks to George and all of the fire you guys have thrown at him. I'm going to put it to you. Do you want... This comes down to, so there is no rules as written for this situation, because how would I have done that? So I'm going to put it to you. How does Leo brew his stuff? Have you made this cloud flammable, or have you made it out of... I'm going to give you 2 choices. It's either flammable and something's going to happen, but the cloud's not going to stick around. Or it's not flammable in a way that is going to cause a boom, but is made out of things that are pretty awful to burn. So something else is going to happen.
Leo's nature, I feel like he's gonna make a boom. He's
Gonna make a boom.
He's making it as dangerous as possible. Leo doesn't skirt on the side of caution. He's like, yeah, this is a great potion. We'll blow up if it gets near something hot, but it's a great potion. It works really well.
Okay, you guys have spent all of your Molotov cocktails on this situation here. You've lit Swinscom very on fire. George and Leo have basically burned all of their resources and actions to make this happen, so I think this is fair. I'm going to pitch this to the players, to the party as a whole. Do we want to go all in on this combo move here, or do we want to kind of hedge our bets and let a number of things keep happening round and round?
All in, baby. I'm usually all in.
Okay.
You in, Shy?
Sure.
Here's what we're going to do. I got a D12 right here. You want this to be high. That's an 11.
Yeah.
Leo, go ahead and roll 11 D6s for me.
Oh, yes. That's 38.
All of the fire on the deck is extinguished because that's what happens when you drop a bomb on a bonfire.
Yay!
All of the fire on the deck is extinguished. Leo, I do need you to go ahead and make a fortitude save for me. Your target is 10.
I realized that this was going to have some repercussions for myself. Leo, I think definitely throws caution to the wind. All right, give me a sec. That one. That's a 6 plus 2 is 8, but I'm going to burn a fate point.
Yes. Clutch coming through. Come on.
I cannot not reward the combination of crazy things you guys just did. Like, it's just...
And then, add 1d6.
You can do D8 as well.
Oh, no, that's for another creature. Right, yeah. So add 1d8. There we go. 6. Sweet. So that's 12 plus 2, plus 3 is 15.
You hang on as the Doubleback Keen's wreck bucks. You manage to stay in position. Most of this fire, I'm going to rule, is kind of like snuffed out or crushed together. This building is very on fire, is what that is. The ship itself is like on fire down at the waterline, but you're not like standing at a bonfire right now. The big creature has actually an ability that I'm going to honor. It cannot be moved against its will due to mass and anchorage and everything, so it's going to remain, but poor Swinscom, not so much. He is going to go careening and crashing against this other ship over here, which itself is also going to be bucked away by that explosion. So the battlefield has shifted a bit. These zombies are now floundering around in the water there. Holy crap. The big beast got a nasty chunk taken out of it because you guys just dumped all of your Molotovs and explosions and caustic everything onto it. That was awesome. Swinscom looks wrecked, but pissed. The ships have moved and bucked. That was Leo's turn. We come to what I will now tell you. The name of this creature is the Nest. Its turn. It does spawn worms as it takes damage, so a bunch of them scatter out. It's going to absorb the infected adjacent to it. 1, 2, 3. You see parts of that gash rent open by the explosion begin to knit together as this new biomass is added to it. It does recover some health. Not as much as you just took out of it. I want to be very clear on that. It is still quite hurt. But it begins to recover as it absorbs those creatures. That subsonic psychic thrum echoes again. Everybody is going to take some damage. You guys are going to take 9 psychic damage. 9 sonic damage, 3 psychic damage.
It's halved because we're already deafened.
If you are deafened, half the sonic. Yeah, so take 4 instead of 9. That's a fair ask. We've established that. Love it.
I'm still deaf now. It's like every round I gotta get around a deputy.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't make me any less deaf, but I still take less.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, to me, it's like there's the physical force component of like high frequency sonic energy, and then there's the like my hearing organs are ruptured, like they can only be so ruptured. How we doing, guys? Check on. Does anyone need to make affliction rolls for your toughness?
Oh, here we go.
You already have one, so you're going to add one to the roll resulting from this.
Oh, I really didn't need that right now. Yeah, I rolled an 8. So I got the lower body injury, and my speed is halved.
That's rough.
Oh, jeez, for the guy with almost no ranged moves, that is going to be a little bit of a bummer.
That's how I got that. I'm a compromised major, so sort of it works.
Why not? Okay, George, you roll a 1. You good?
I rolled a 5.
5 would be rattled minor, which will only hurt your spell attack rolls, which I don't know if George makes a whole ton of. I guess your avatar stuff, definitely.
Yeah, I was about to start with that, but
The water rises. You look out back into Tumblefrey Harbor. The storm is much closer than it was when this fight started. And something is coming with it. There's a moment where you look out, and I think you guys have noticed, like, the worms are connected. You felt a sympathetic response as you were touching them and in them, and visions start to kind of piece together. You had visions from the perspective of the birds, visions from what probably was the nest slumbering in that shipwreck before it was risen, visions of something else approaching the city. As you look out into the storm, I think on the horizon, you see ships, just the vaguest shapes in this approaching storm front. Dark mass coming out. Then you see one of those ships buckle, shatter under the waves, and from that impact, that point of collision, bioluminescence flashes and ripples out, illuminating a maw the size of a mountain. The worms call to the nest. The nest calls to something else. It is almost time to feed. Anyways, it's the zombies' turn as we go to map number 3. George, I need you. So, Leo, you're on the Doubleback Keen as it is being pushed and slammed into these buildings. George, that ship with the storm surge coming in comes right up to where you were standing. I need you to go ahead and make you could justify several different checks here. So I'm going to let you tell me what stat you want to use to either get out of the way, climb on, avoid it. You tell me.
all right. Can I like jump onto it? Like, jump up and then scramble onto it? Because like I'm wearing heavy armor in water is bad.
So yeah, we're going to call that a might check. We're going to call the target I'm going to set the target for like an unqualified success at like a 7. So not terrible because, as I said before, the ship is really severely listed. So like really the deck is coming at you. So it's a matter of just getting up there, not hurting yourself or stumbling or anything. If you beat a 7, you get exactly what you want. If you come down below a 7, it may not be catastrophic, but stuff will happen depending on how bad it is.
Might roll that. That's 7 plus 4, 11.
Okay, George, you can jump in any space adjacent to Leo there. Go ahead and put yourself there to start off the round. Zane, the storm surge comes in. The water is kind of up almost to your waist at this point. You're pretty badly injured. However, I will say there's a world where you can probably swim faster than you can run through this. Swinscombe, you guys see, is slammed by the storm surge up against that building, the fire guttering out around it. But he climbs up onto the roof. He's about level with the deck of that other ship over there that is crushed into the building as well. He is looking at you guys. It is the zombies' turn. All of the zombies that were near the nest have either been absorbed or destroyed. You do hear and see motion coming out of the city behind you. I'm going to set those guys there to start off this encounter. They've come in from the broader city. That brings us to Swinscombe's turn. He is going to reach out. Remember that worm that was shed off of the nest as a result of that explosion? You see him reach down, channeling this it would be wrong to describe it as dark tendrils of energy. It is better to describe it as unlight. Something that seems to literally suck the light out of the area around him, like a light bulb would illuminate it, but in reverse. He reaches down, channeling this energy towards the worm that spawned out of the nest, and just makes a crushing motion with his finger. That thing evaporates into this eldritch unlight that starts to reconstitute his body somewhat. That is going to be one of his actions. He's going to use reconstitute self to kill a worm and gain some health back. And then, with his remaining mana, he is going to force you guys to make a fortitude check.
That's 8 plus 3 for me, 11.
6 plus 3, 9.
So you both beat the target on that. Fantastic. So you're going to take half of this damage. Could have been a lot worse. If this hits normally, you guys are probably going to be fine. What you absolutely do not want to happen right now is for him to roll maximum possible damage, because it will get worse. So he's going to roll 2d6. That's a 6. Okay. You guys are going to take half damage because you made your saves. Go ahead and take 4 cold damage. And that is all that happens off that roll. Zane, you're up. George, you're on deck.
Yeah. Zane's down in the water. His legs all mucked up. What Zane wants to do is he wants to get on the same roof that Swinscombe is on, and he wants to try and fight him. What does he have to do that? Like, is the water high enough that he could just swim onto the roof? Or does he need to climb?
For that building there, which is really just kind of like a shed, the water is quite high up to the roof line, comparatively speaking. There are parts, like you're on uneven ground, so it's like there's parts where you're like standing on ground and then you take a step and it's way deeper there. But I'm going to say one action will get you onto that roof, regardless of any movement penalties and climbing and stuff.
Okay, so let's take that first action. I think Zane crouches down and grabs the grass in the water and pulls himself forward so he's not having to ride on his leg. And then he hauls himself up onto the top of the thing here, the roof, stands up, looks over at Swinscombe, and he's like looking at him all on fire, and his face is all messed up, and he's like, "Oh, you're right there, Swinscombe." And then he goes to make his next move. So what can I do here? So it's limited half movement, so 15 feet. Well, I'm going to take the dash attack action with this movement then.
So roll it with 1d8 instead of 1d12.
Great. Plus might.
Oh, please hit, Jack. I want you to kill this guy.
That's 5 plus 4. That's a 9.
I will tell you that's not quite enough. But you do have fate points, I think. And also you can use careful attack for extra stamina to add to your attacks.
Let's go just a careful attack then on this one.
For every 2 stamina you spend, you add 1 to the roll.
I'm going to spend all 8 stamina on this. I'm going to go for it. I want to land
Nice.
this attack.
Plus
so
4.
That's what? 4 plus 4. 9 plus 4 is what? 13.
13 hits.
Yeah.
That's a 6. Then it's I've got this ability that I've been forgetting to use. With my minor class being a warrior, I got to choose a combat style at the start, and I chose slashing because everything's slashing. So once per round, when you would deal damage of the chosen type, you may roll an additional damage dice.
Jack, I am going to tell you, you are in the range where you might do this.
Yes.
Okay, let's
Just
go.
don't roll a 1, my guy.
6 plus 1. That's a 7.
So Zane, battered, injured, shaken to your core by events so much bigger than you were ever supposed to have to deal with, drags himself through the rising water on the vegetation and muck and grime and that silt of fresh mud churning up underneath you, gets over onto the roof, claws his way across the roof. Swinscom looks at you. Insolent. Salvation comes. The feast is nigh. Fire licking out of the maws and jaws and orifices that have opened up in this hideously deformed husk of a terrible man. Zane, how do you strike him down?
I managed to rise to my feet somehow and just collapse, plunge the sword directly into this guy.
Leo and George, blasted with freezing brine and mist that seems to claw through you. George, you feel it even through your armor. You look up, raged to see Zane clawing his way across the roof. No muss, no fuss. Zane's a practical man. Swinscom turns and snarls something at him. Zane plunges Dock Worker and just sort of crumples to his knees. And Swinscom is dead. George, your turn.
All right. So, as a paladin, I've got this ability. It's called exercise.
Yeah.
George looks at the big thingy, tentacle monster, and he says, "Take my hand and fly away to a place where we can be alone." And this gold aura shines on him, and this green-red flickering happens around the big creature as their might and their willpower clashes. So I'm using exercise. You attempt to cast a being from the material plane. Target one creature you can see within range and force it to make a contested willpower check. If it fails, it vanishes from the material world for as long as you sustain the spell, returning to the space from which it vanishes when this effect ends. And it has a specific effect as exercise outsiders. If you use this ability on an aberration, a celestial, or fiend, and sustain it for at least 1 minute, 10 rounds, it does not return when you end this effect. So he's trying to banish it from this world.
See what it's got to beat.
All right, I've got 2 fate points. See how that goes. No, I got only 1.
I will point out, for Leo and Zane, if you have fate points, there are abilities you can. They usually are either a lesser potent effect or you spend more to do them, but you can buff other people's rolls too.
Oh, I can too.
Just putting that out there. George, hit us.
All right, there is my D12 plus 4 for my willpower. Oh my god, I rolled a 1. That's 5. I will use my fate point to add 1d8 to that. And let's see how much that will add up to. So that's a 6, a total of 11.
I'll chuck you an extra D6.
Me too.
Beautiful. 2 more D6s. Let's see it.
All right. Do you want to roll the D6s?
All right.
Oh, I'm pulling for you guys. I'm still going to kill you if you fail, but I'm pulling for you.
Oh, no. It's a 2.
Okay, here we go. Last one from me. That's a 5.
Nice.
18.
So we are 18.
This thing has to beat an 18. Okay. It's got a plus 10 on willpower.
That's
Oh, no.
That's
On a D12, it has to roll a 7 or lower. Because if it meets an 18...
That's some good odds. That's some. I'd take those odds. I'd take those odds.
Oh, boy. D12. 7 or lower.
Oh, no.
I'm trying to figure out if I can bring my camera over there.
What is
It's a 6.
It's a 6.
what?
It's a 6. It is a... I'm not... I am not going to rotate it at all. That, my friends, is a 6.
Yeah.
The nest, an aberration, faces the power of the paladin of balance and is banished from the material realm, severing the connection on the psychic and eldritch skein of reality to the great devourer, emerging from the rending sea and approaching Tumble Frey on a blind siren's call to this colony of feeler organisms. It subsides into the sea. You watch as this mountain of devouring destruction sinks beneath the waves.
George just, he's praying, he's on his knee, he's praying. He's trying to keep up his concentration.
George, you hold on to that concentration. The water still begins to rise. Something this big does not emerge from the sea without consequences. I think you guys jump onto the wreckage of the Doubleback Keen, hold on for dear life, tie yourselves, lash yourselves to the rigging as the boat is slammed into the buildings. You see the battered Tulip flooded, windows blown out, pass by as you cling to the wreckage and the mast and are forced up the hill, beaching yourselves on the rocks and the masonry of the buildings around and the city's walls. Waves crash against the outer walls of Tumble Frey. Bollocks Docks, the dockside district, is heavily damaged. People are fleeing, running, clinging to roofs, running for your lives. You see Fiora with her rubber knuckle knees scrambling up a tree. You see the body of Saxton, what's left of it, slip beneath the waves as you pass. You hear a bark from up on the wall through a crack just up at the base of it. You see Daisy and Scrum and Rover poking their heads out going, "Y'all good?" A rope dangles down as the water rises. You realize the Doubleback is not long for this world. A rope tossed down from Daisy, held by Scrum, lands next to you. Zane, battered, beaten and bruised, but your body still holding on, clawing your way up the wall with this rappel. Leo, your resources spent, your reagents smashed, your bombs and concoctions spent and broken and scattered into the waves, leaving an amount of environmental damage in your way.
Yes, yeah.
You follow behind your trusted companion up into the bolt hole that Tulip's proprietors have prepared for themselves and their trusted companion. George, bringing up the rear in your heavy armor, your companions helping to winch you up with the strength you have left, up the wall into the crack at the base of this between the actual defensive wall itself and a natural cavernous area where you see Daisy has gathered some of the local street children as well to weather this storm. Flood happens. The tsunami can't be stopped. There's only surviving it. The low-lying areas of Tumble Frey, especially on this side of the harbor, will suffer, but certainly less than they would have had this devouring beast heeded the call of the nest and the maw priest that it created and come to simply consume before going back to its slumber. And that, gentleman, was 10 silvers bent.
We did it!
That was so good.
We won!
That was
I thought we were
so
dead!
freaking cool.
Ah.
Time, like a river, keeps on rolling right on by.
Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Relict, aka 10 Silvers Bent. This has been Sounds Like Adventure's collaboration with Houndsong Games to celebrate the Kickstarter for Relict. Now, if you haven't already backed the campaign, you have less than a week to get involved, but you still can do it. We'd really love to see Chris and the team hit all those Kickstarter goals, so if you can, please go over, back the campaign, and you get an awesome game like Relict, and you can even bring 10 Silvers Bent to your own table. And hey, if you found us through Relict and you'd like to know a little bit more, check out Sounds Like Adventure. It's our normal podcast. We have really short run times and we already have 2 seasons out, so go check it out. You can binge it in like a weekend. And for those of you who are regular listeners to Sounds Like Adventure, this was obviously something that was really different from our normal show, so we'd love to hear what you think about this. So we've made a survey where you can leave some thoughts, let us know what you think, because we'd like to know if you'd like to see more stuff like this, and we have a few other ideas for things we might try in the future that we'd love to get your thoughts on. But hey, don't forget, season finale of season 2 of Sounds Like Adventure. It's next week on Tuesday. Don't miss it. But hey, in the meantime, I'll catch you next week for more Sounds Like Adventure.